Thanks guys for joining the next episode, and today I'm going to cover 3 topics in recruiting. So all 3 topics are pretty important, so I'm going to start with the first one, and the first one deals with setting the right expectations. So I had not a lot, but this has happened in the past, where I would have a hiring manager hire somebody, but then they would get rid of them 2 weeks later, or 4 weeks later, 5 weeks later. And it's because there was not the right expectations with the hiring manager and the person getting hired. And a lot of that has to do with the hiring manager, him or herself. For example, you have an accountant that was managing salespeople, and the expectation is they come from an accounting background, and they think that the salesperson could close deals in 2 weeks to 3 weeks. But really, the sales cycle in their industry, in most industries, could take months. And they didn't understand that. And after 4 or 5 weeks, they would get rid of the person. When they do that, that affects their reputation as the hiring manager. It affects the firm's reputation, because the person that gets let go, he or she goes to all their friends and family, current clients, past clients, colleagues, past clients, and tells them never to work with this firm again. And it's because there was not the correct expectations set from the get-go. The hiring manager did not understand how much it would take, how long it would take to close a deal. The same thing happens when someone in operations hires an IT person to install software, and they don't understand that the process could take 3 to 6 months or a year or more if they're installing complex software like SAP, or at least 3 to 6 months if they're installing Salesforce software. So it just happens when the right expectations are set. I encourage all of my clients, all of NewConfig's clients, to talk to the people that they hire to understand the expectations, how long it would take for them to close deals, whether they're in sales, how long will it take them to do deliverables, whether they're in accounting or IT, operations, what have you. A simple and straightforward conversation about that will save everyone a lot of time and money and reputation. Now, the second topic I want to talk about is 2022 total, and what's going on in the market right now in 2022, in the hiring and recruiting market. And what's going on is things have become a little inflated, because there has been inflation in 2022, starting in 2020 with the pandemic, and 2021, and coming now with the governments in the US that keeps printing more and more money. There's a lot less goods and services more money chasing those goods and services, and that has put pressure on wages. And wages in the US and Canada have definitely gone up. A lot of clients, hiring managers, still living in before the pandemic time period, where they are giving salaries that are just unrealistic, because salaries have increased by 10 to 15%. If they continue peddling these such low salaries, their positions will continue to stay open. I have had a lot of hiring managers reach out asking, why are these positions still open? I don't understand. I'm paying a competitive salary. No, you're not. You're not paying a competitive salary for 2022. And my advice to most hiring managers is to increase salary for the positions if they want them to remain, if they want to close the positions. Now, the second topic that's very important has to do with remote work. Remote work is hot right now in the market. When back before the pandemic, 2019, it was 1 out of 20 jobs that were remote. Now it's 1 out of 5. So literally 4 times more jobs are available that are remote. And a lot of hiring managers, a lot of companies have become very savvy with this, business savvy, and they're willing to take remote candidates. And that gives them a lot of advantage, because now they are competing against their competitors that don't want to allow remote candidates. So they attract better talent, and they attract better talent from all over the country. They're not limited by their zip code. If they're in California, they could get talent from Boston. If they're in Chicago, they could get talent in Florida. They're not limited by anything in terms of zip code or location. And I strongly encourage clients, if they are not ready to do 100% remote, I strongly encourage them to do at least 1 day or 2 days remote to be competitive in the marketplace. It's just the way it is. More and more companies are allowing remote work. So if you're a hiring manager and you want to hire talent and you want to compete against your competitors in the marketplace, in your industry, I recommend making the job more remote and increasing the salary at least 10 to 20%. Just the way it is in the market today if you want to get top talent. Now, the third topic I want to talk about is not being emotional. I'll give you some examples. So you could be emotional in a positive way. For example, you get a job offer. A lot of candidates that I talk to, sadly some of my candidates, they don't listen to me and they just accept the offer right away. And when they do that, they leave a lot of money on the table, because I always encourage all of my candidates to counteroffer any offer, because most of the time the offer is not going to be rescinded if you counteroffer. In fact, many hiring managers look at you as a savvy business person when you counteroffer, because it shows that you know how to negotiate. Worst case scenario, what's going to happen is the person's going to say no, the hiring manager, and you're left with the offer that you already had on the table. But best case scenario, you get more money. And when you do counteroffer, I do recommend giving a reason why you counteroffer. For some reason, it does much better in the marketplace of people. For example, there's been studies done when a person cuts in line, he or she has a better chance of having the person who is getting cut to accept them in the line if they give a reason why they're cutting. Oh, I have to get back to work, I have a fever, I need to go to the bathroom, whatever it is. If they give a reason, any reason, they have a much better chance of getting accepted into the line. Well, same thing happens here when you counteroffer. When you give a reason, it's a much better chance that it could be accepted. That's a positive emotional response. And what I recommend when you get a job offer, take a day to think about it and let the emotion pass. The same thing happens when you're a hiring manager or you're just an employee at a job. Something negative happens. For example, you're a hiring manager and you hired someone and they exaggerate their skill set and you're thinking that you want to fire them. My advice is take a day to think about it, because when you come back and you look at it logically, you realize that most people, when they're at a job interview, they exaggerate their skill set because they want the job. And then you could make a decision if you really want to fire this person, because they could bring A, B, and C to the table that they otherwise would not have brought if they weren't at your place of business. So think about it. Take a day to think about it. Most business decisions take about a day for the emotion to pass. Obviously, if something terrible has happened to you, you've got cancer, or someone has died in your family, it'll take much longer for the emotion to pass. But for most normal decisions, it takes about a day for the emotion to pass, most business decisions. So my advice is take a day to think about it before you make a decision, whether it's a negative thing that's happened to you at work or a positive thing that you got an offer. Take a day, let the emotion pass so you can make a logical decision. So these are the 3 things I wanted to cover today. I hope they added value to your day or while you're in your workplace, while you're about. Yeah, keep watching New Configs videos. Stay tuned for the next one.